I think the central relationship in Julius Caesar is between Brutus and Cassius. You have these friends who are living in a time where there is a leader, there's a person in charge of this country who may or may not be striving toward taking the nation from a republic to a monarchy. And I think for any individual that cares about their government, that cares about the world in which they live, that has patriotism, that would be really, really shocking. And we deal with that issue in this play through the relationship of Brutus and Cassius. Cassius is a very committed activist. Cassius really sees what's going on with Caesar as wrong. Brutus is a very thoughtful person who cares about the country, who cares about what's happening, who is almost, because Brutus is lacking in what seems like a personal agenda, Brutus becomes enlisted as the leader of this faction that moves against Caesar. And they decide to do this very, very quickly. Ultimately, it happens very quickly. And then we see how Brutus and Cassius deal with the aftermath of creating that event, creating that assassination, and how their relationship does and does not survive that moment, and how both they do not survive that moment. Both of those characters end up dying. And that's what makes it a tragedy, and that's also what makes it compelling. You know, the way in which we are all trying to do our best, and the way in which we are all supremely flawed. This is what is compelling to me about Shakespeare, and I think it really, really comes alive in Julius Caesar. We are just now beginning the process of figuring out what world to put this play in, how to bring it to the audience in a way that's going to be most accessible, universal, exciting, and theatrical and imaginative for them. We're just starting, and it's the great, wonderful miracle of the theater that we just decide to do something, and eventually it's going to become something, and eventually people will come to see it. And you really try to do that right. I think that the play isn't just about being in togas. I think it's not just about being in suits. I think there's something incredibly true and timeless about it, and I want to create a world where that can be possible, where the audience can both understand how it's about a modern political system, how it's also about an ancient political system. It's about the really big issues surrounding leadership and how we react to the people who are put in charge of us, and whether or not we think they are right or we think they are wrong, and what we do about that. We've, as humans, been struggling with that ever since there have been humans, and I think we will continue to struggle with that. And so I want to create a world where that's what we're watching, not simply one moment in history, but issues that transcend history and become emblematic of the timeless and universal struggle with leadership, government, systems of rule, these things that constantly engage us and compel us. We're going to create a world that puts that on the stage, and I'm really excited to have everybody see what that world becomes.